Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to you live from our comfy couch here on the outskirts of the internet. This is the Gaming Saloon Reviews for December 9th, 2019. With your host, Speedbreaker2448 and Rampant Epsilon.
Hi.
Have you... well, 01's not out yet, so you haven't seen this week's episode.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, poor Ikazuchi is a jobber. He was created so he can job out to Assault Wolf. Also, how do you feel about Fourze dying because of his power-up?
Like, dying over time, or...
It kind of trying to kill him already.
To be fair, that fits his character.
Like, first use, after the fight, on his knees, coughing up blood, can't even walk away, just stumbling away.
To be fair, kind of fits his character.
Right.
Willing to power through anything just to get the job done? Yeah, completely sounds like him.
Also, I don't think Naruto can go...
Unfortunately, though, that also sounds way too much like Gates Revive.
It kind of does.
And
it also doesn't help. Well, it also doesn't help that they also were doing it with Shining Hopper this week too, because Naruto couldn't be Shining Hopper for very long at the end of the episode before he collapsed.
Which we already alluded to that beforehand.
Well, it also didn't help that he got his ass handed to him before he went Shining Hopper already. And I believe this was the same day he went Shining Hopper once. So twice, plus getting his ass handed to him in the middle, he probably doesn't feel very well.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, next week's episode looks very, very interesting in ways that I'm like, oh, please let a part of those rumors that came out not be true.
Which rumors?
The rumors with like Naruto and Gaia being clones and shit. Because here's the thing, they're not confirming that part. No, another part of that rumor is kind of maybe confirmed by some preview images we've seen.
Is it bad
and also,
that I don't think I would dig that part of it so much as I probably could the fact that maybe something happened to the original Naruto and he's a Humagear kind of deal?
Maybe.
Like, I might could see that one a little more than just, oh, he's a clone.
Yeah, because we see a very badly damaged Hirobi in the preview and in preview images for next week's episode. Most likely as a result of Naruto going Shining Assault. Because he does go Shining Assault next week. So the part where Hirobi gets turned into Fourze, I'm like, that might be true. Yeah, that makes me go, oh, are the rest of those rumors right? Because Hirobi could be getting turned into Fourze, especially since we've seen that new helmet design for it, and I'm like, huh. You know, now that I think about it, those eyes do kind of line up with Hirobi's main color.
To be fair, I felt like there was a lot of similarity there, personally, but I was like, well, maybe it's just the style. But if that's the case, then yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. And also, there's a thing that might be happening to Izuta. I'm like, no, don't you fucking dare. Don't you dare kill the one character that no one was expecting you to kill this week. We are close to Christmas. Don't you do it.
Is it bad that if that happens, I would almost be like too soon?
Well, yeah.
Because, we just come out of her not getting killed.
Yeah. Yeah, there is no sub for 01 just yet. It'll probably be up tomorrow at some point, so stay tuned to next week to hear about that one, because it'll probably be an episode to talk about. Oh, I did get some interesting news. You remember the novels?
Yeah.
We are getting a build novel. That is the short and long I can tell you, because there is literally nothing else on the build novel besides it exists and it's coming out next year.
Well then.
Oh, and it's also post Grease v Cinema, I believe. Like, that's it. So I guess they didn't have the budget to do a Rogue v Cinema, so I guess that's getting put in the build novel. Because, like, what else would it be?
True.
Yeah. I think the opening we've started getting Rainbow Generations openings now.
Yeah, I've noticed.
But they have confirmed that Type 1 will have a face turn at some point in the movie and fight another 01, which makes me go, good. That should have been the thing from the start. Not have much else. So we've got episodes 33 through 36 this week. How are you feeling going into them?
Kind of good about getting back to them anyhow.
All right. So the episodes debuted April 29th, May 6th, 13th, and 20th of 2012. I have been wrong. These are 2012 episodes for a while. So whenever I said January forward, that's 2012, not 2011. I'm an idiot. For reference, I keep using the same, more or less. I use last week's notes to do the next week's episode, or next week's notes, so I can keep the formatting and stuff the same. So I might have left the 2011 in there and not changed it.
For like weeks now.
Yeah, and I just now noticed. But we are going to kick things off with episode 33, Ancient City Mayhem. It's field trip time, because we need a field trip with your school-related media. This feels normal. As someone who's played several Persona games at this point, no, this feels normal. No, there's always like a field trip segment. In this case, they're heading to Kyoto, because the principal wanted them to go to Kyoto, so they're going to Kyoto. That's really it. We'll get to the specifics later. The classes split up into groups, and we have our normal group of Gentaro, Yuki, Kengo, and Ryusei, with Usugi, I guess, being the chaperone, who is immediately dumped within 5 minutes, so don't worry about him. He's not really in this episode, or the next.
Yeah, which
or
is
even
kind of odd, in my opinion.
Or even really the two after this. He's got like one appearance, and that's it.
After making it such a point to bring him into the club.
Yep, this is... but they're joined by Yukina, another class member who has a thing for Gentaro super hard.
Yeah.
Yuki, of course, objects to this because, she's got a sixth sense for knowing shit's gonna go down, so we might need Gentaro and Ryusei to become riders, and since she's not in the club, she doesn't need to know. That's not gonna last long. But Asuki brushes it off. It's like, no, come on. We are not having an episode this week. It's fine. No monsters will attack because we're not going to be at the school. Because no monsters have attacked elsewhere, right? Except we've had several instances of that exact thing happening, including attacking at another school.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, Kamau is being accosted by, I guess, the new people at Foundation X, because this feels weird. That it's just like, here's a bunch of goons from Foundation X showing up to be like, Kamau, you have not submitted your paperwork. We require your paperwork. And he just goes, fuck off. And just sticks Leo on them as we see him out of the monster suit. He's just some really tall guy who has walnuts in his hands all the time and tries to crack them because I don't know, it's a tick. Tough. I guess it's a tick. Don't worry about it, folks. So yeah, Leo whips their asses without transforming, and they're shooed away because am I the only one that just feels weird about this scene of just like, why did Foundation X do this? This isn't their style. Maybe it's just me. How'd you feel?
That's about all I can say to that.
Okay. Anywho, Kamau's off on his own field trip of sorts to the same location because, of course, this is all a part of the master plan of sorts. So we get to Kyoto, and Kengo immediately bugs off to go do his own thing because he's got plans, which more or less leaves our core group, minus Usugi, because they immediately dump him as well, and he's gone for literally all of these 2 episodes. I don't know where he went.
Clearly not the hotel.
Apparently not, because they also left him at the hotel, too. But elsewhere, Hayame and Leo are discussing the plans, which apparently involves Kyoto in some way, which is why they've all been brought here. Back with the group, Yukina and Yuki have put together... Yukina put together a itinerary, essentially, for them to do, and Yuki put together a song list for them to sing. Look, there's a lot of shenanigan stuff in here that I'm probably going to skip over because this is a shenanigan-filled episode. But the rest of the club that are not on this school trip, which is half the club essentially, are busy watching the base and also doing nothing.
Well,
I guess they didn't.
Productive.
Yes, nothing productive, so they're over there at the moment. Yukina finally asks Gentaro if he has a girlfriend, and he more or less deflects. He does say no the second time around, but he's kind of deflects it. And I'm just like, oh, you have a girlfriend. It's just complicated.
Yeah.
Like extremely complicated.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ryusei is going to be acting like Gentaro's ringman the entire 2 episodes, as he's going to try to thwart Yukina's efforts at every turn, especially when they decide to visit the gates of Fox for Cloud. It's actually a location in Japan, but I call it that because that was part of the inspiration for Star Fox for Miyamoto, was this location. So the Fox statues, the large walkway of gates, yeah, no, that inspired the design of Star Fox. Along with interesting enough, Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds is for the reason for the talking heads and the windows and stuff. It's supposed to mimic puppets, essentially. It's why... what is it? On the original box art... Or it's not the original box art cover. There's something with the original Star Fox that there's like actual puppets of the Star Fox crew. Anywho, Libra eventually drops by from one of the other two paths when Yukina's just being like, hey, let's split up and me and Gantaro go one way and you two fuck off elsewhere because I'm tired of you butting in. So Yuki has to drag Yukina off and the boys have to go fight Libra. For reference, every time we have to fight, Ryusei still has to run off to go transform and then like fly back in. Which feels like one of those... Okay, why do we have to keep his identity secret at this point? It's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
So yeah, while our boys are fighting, Yukina shows she's a bit of a dick and decides to blackmail Yuki into helping her as she takes Hayabusa-kun hostage, which is this puppet of a satellite who's kind of prominent in the next two set of episodes. Kind of, again, shenanigans. Anyway, Libra eventually plays our riders into rider kicking an area that activates a set of pillars in the air around Kyoto. And they are totally not related to Fourze in any way, even though one of them has a big giant blue X on it. Libra ends up destroying this one and leaves, and our gang gets back to shenanigans, in this case, costumery shenanigans, and I can't help but look at this and go, so are people in Japan with like samurais in this set, which is an actual set that Toei had that burned down a few years ago, are they with that like Americans are with Westerns? Because I see some strong parallels here.
You know, I have to wonder that myself.
It also doesn't help that, like, recently the Disney Plus show The Mandalorian, a lot of people were making references to like samurai movies and westerns, and some people were having a debate on which one it is, and I'm like, isn't it technically both? I mean, they're not far off from each other in like their role in the cultural history of those regions. And also how those stories go. They are not too distinct and too off from each other. Also, it probably doesn't help that Star Wars pulls from both back in the day. Literally.
True.
But anywho, we check in at a local space university. For references, the Kyoto Space University. So it is literally the local space university.
Quite literally.
Kengo ends up meeting Moto, who's an old friend of his father's. He's wanting to know more info on the space magic. Like cosmic energy, but I'm just going to call it space magic because that's what I just ended up writing in all my notes this week. It's just like, it's fucking space magic. And the guy is happy to talk shop with him. We will check on them later. But we check back in with Ryusei. He pretty much tells the intro, hey, you need to tell her off. Like, let her down easy or whatever, but you need to tell her no. But Gantaro can't, because he's a nice guy, and he doesn't want to do that to her, especially on a field trip.
Yeah.
But checking back in with Kengo, we find out there are these holes over Japan where space magic comes from. And one of them is over Kyoto, while the other one is over the school. So that seems important. And apparently, ancient people back in the day used 4 points in Kyoto to control it. Those are where those pillars are. And they are associated with ancient gods. weirdly enough, it's four I'm familiar with because they pop up from Persona 4 in the Persona series as a four-sided fusion to get a stronger Persona. Because while I can't remember the names offhand, it is a dragon, a tiger, a turtle/snake, and a phoenix. And in the Persona games, you fuse the four of those together to get a bigger, stronger dragon. But the four have elemental associations and whatnot. It's an interesting read. Anywho. After we get this information, we check back in the game for more shenanigans as Yukina drags Gentaro off for some alone time in a ninja fun house with trapdoors and stuff. And Gentaro more or less no-sells every bit of her advances because he's just gonna try his best to ignore it, I guess.
If you ignore it, it'll go away.
Yep. But unfortunately, they are interrupted by Dust Stars attacking, and Gentaro has to fight them off with his real swords that he was given from this costume shop.
Which I am wondering why it wasn't real swords.
That was my question. I'm just like, wait a minute, Gentaro, what? Wait a minute. You got that from the costume shop. Why do you have real... Why are they giving out people real swords? What the fuck? What do you mean they're real swords? Anyway, they do make it outside. Ryusei drops in as Meteor, gives Gentaro the chance to run off, separates Yukina from him. She goes running off a different direction. We'll check in with her later. Or we'll have her run in later. So Meteor is going to be fighting a bunch of goons as Meteor Storm. Gentaro fights the bunch of goons in a pun fight, essentially, because Kengo eventually shows up and says, hey, you should go cosmic, and hey, here's a bunch of visual gags about the switch combos you should use.
Yeah.
I don't know why this was necessary. But yeah, all the goons get taken out. They end up fighting Libra because Libra finds the pillar they're looking for, but Meteor cuts him off. So they end up fighting until Leo shows up and he starts fighting our riders, and we end the episode on that note. Which takes us to episode 34, Heavenly Hole, Offense and Defense. Leo, more or less, trounces them because say hello to your sub-boss, aka Meteor's final boss for the series. Yeah, more or less, Leo is Meteor's final boss for the series.
I mean, I guess that's fitting.
Yeah. Although I do like that our secondary writer does have a final boss of their own. We don't really get that ever.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
Yeah, after Leo trounces the pair, Libra gets the pillar, and the two of them bug off. Yukina ends up finding the pair after the fight, and so the gang has to head to the hotel while continuing to hide what's going on. And I do love that going into the opening, Kengo does press the cosmic switch button to make it say danger for a gag. And I'm like, oh, you're doing that for the fun stuff. Because you know better. You know not to press that 5 million times.
I love the goof.
Mm-hmm. So at the hotel, Yukina is taking out her frustrations over everything on Yuki, over ping pong, because that's what you do when you're on vacation in Japan at a hotel, is you play ping pong. I guess ping pong is just like a major sport in Japan.
Must be.
I also love that everyone is in like resort attire except Kengo, who is dressed casually. Anyway, Kengo pretty much reveals that, oh yeah, the symbols on Fourze's suit are like the same as the control points because they help regulate the space magic. So we do need to protect these pillars, because if they go away, the hole's probably going to go away, and that's probably not a good thing. But we check in with Leo and Hayame after this. They're at a bar getting drunk or having drinks. They decide to exchange words over who is the better second in command. I'm not gonna lie, as a old Transformers fan, I do love bickering goons over who kisses ass better.
Yeah, that is kind of fun.
But they end up trading words in Fist over this, because they decide to take the fight outside into monster form, and Leo whips his ass at both. Leo whips his ass at whips Libra's ass at both. So Libra's having a bad day. But we check in the next day, the group is sneaking out. Kengo, Ryusei head off to one point, whereas Gentaro and Yuki are heading off to the other. Unfortunately, Yukina catches them both, so she's dragged along begrudgingly. But checking in with Ryusei and Kengo, they do get the bond a little bit over Ryusei, not being a double agent, I guess, anymore. And also, I guess I forgive you for killing Gentaro, because I was the one pretty broken up about that. So I guess things are fine between us. But as they split up to look, Kengo spots Gamal, only for Leo to intercept him. So now Ryusei has to fight Leo again. For reference, this is going to be a trend for a while. Not only is Leo Ryusei's final boss, he's kind of the only person Ryusei is going to fight for a while, one-on-one.
Well, I mean, you gotta drum it up.
Yeah, you gotta drum it up by Ryusei getting his ass handed to him multiple times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, just as a reminder, Ryusei has no more power-ups. Actually, no one in the cast has any more power-ups, besides the one thing that appears in the movie we never use again. And the other thing from the movie we're going to use once in the series and then, never use again.
Arf.
Yeah, Doc's barking. If I ignore him, he might go lay down. Or go lay back down. Anyway, so while Ryusei's fighting, Kengo goes and tries to goes to find Gamal. Meteor, for reference, is going to lose this fight to Leo pretty badly because, like I said, Leo's going to survive for literally till, I believe, the last episode. If I'm remembering right, he's going to survive till then. But we check in with Gentaro, Yuki, and Yukina, and Gentaro just decides, fuck it, I'm going to tell Yukina everything, which, how the fuck does Half the Skull not know that you're Fourze at this point? To be honest.
Oh, I feel like they probably do.
It's just no one wants to talk about it.
Pretty much.
So yeah, he lays everything on the table for Yukina, and Yukina reveals that, yeah, I knew you were Fourze. I know what you do because I've kind of been stalking you, essentially. So I'm going to take the driver and run away now because I don't want you to be Fourze. I like you, but I don't want you to be Fourze. That classic conflict of, wow, I wish this trope would stop getting used. Anyway, we check back in with Kengo, and he runs into Gamal and Moto as they are more or less getting together to mourn his father's loss, because this is where they got met. And Gamal says that he is, figuratively responsible for his father's death. I have to ask, how much do you believe him?
Not one bit.
Okay. I was curious because I was reminded of something involving that plot point, and I'm like, oh, Okay, right. I forgot about that part. Anywho, we will get to it in a couple batches of episodes. But Kamau and Nemoto leave. Ryusei finds Kengo after the fight, but they have found that the pillar has already been destroyed. I wonder by who? We check back in with Akina, who manages to stumble upon the last pillar on accident, not realizing it, and just sees Libra, who's there to blow it up. But Gentro saves her from getting attacked. Wants the driver back. She says no, and he's like, I mean, if you're gonna say no, fine, I'll just go fight him anyway. And proceeds to fight Leo without the Fourze driver. And not as Fourze, so it's not going well for him. I love how Gentro just punches his way through things sometimes. But some convincing from Yuki about Gentro does get Yukina to see, oh, I'm kind of being selfish and stupid about this. I should give the driver back. So she gives it back. Gentro gets to fight properly. And a nice little quick fight and a trip to space for Libra with Cosmic makes him almost not destroy the pillar, but he does get his staff in the ground before he's blasted off to space. And it does destroy the pillar. And Virgo also saves him from taking the full force of a limit break, I guess, because he does get hit by it. We see Hayame is dropped off to Kamau, who commends him for not only succeeding at his job, but also failing at it too. So your job's done. To the Dark Nebula with you. Unfortunately for us, Libra does get his supernova activated at this point, giving him Laplace's eyes, or as I'm going to call it, the writer's excuse for doing all of the horoscopes now and not wasting any more time on them.
Yep.
But he reveals that Kamau is Sagittarius, and that is enough from Kamau to be like, all right, you're saved for now, because I'm only going to use you as to expedite my plans. We check back in with the gang at the hutch. They're distributing gifts to the rest of the club. And they tease Gentro over his picture with Yukina, and we end the episode there. So how'd you feel about our setup to have the excuse of, hey, here's all the horoscopes. We're not going to deal with Zodiarts anymore.
I mean, I feel like it was kind of the cheap method to do it because of the simple fact that they burnt too many episodes trying to get to this point.
Yeah, because for reference, because they call it out in the next episode, we have 6 horoscopes to get through. That's and including really Sagittarius.
In game.
Yep. That is 6 horoscopes plus the 3 that are still in play, which is Virgo, Leo, and Libra, meaning we have 9 fucking villains to blow up in, 14 episodes or so?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Although I do commend them for at least giving an in-universe reason of being like, look, we're not fucking around anymore. We're not doing Zodiarts anymore. Here's all the horoscopes. We're just moving on. We are moving on. Yeah, it was a nice 2 episodes. I kind of like some of the shenanigans that our gang got up to. I also couldn't help to be like, oh, Gentro dresses up as Musashi, and Ryusei dresses up as Okita Suigi, and I go, I can't help but think of Ghost and Fake Grand Order from the things you're saying, because Musashi showed up in Fate, and Ghost, and Okita is more or less, what if Saber was a Japanese legend instead of a European legend? Because Fate has the habit of reusing the same character for different like legends and stuff, even though they're supposed to be completely different people. I believe in fandom it's called the Saber Face issue, since Saber's face is used for a lot of characters. Like 12 at this point, if not more. Yeah. Bear in mind, 12 different characters. Anywho, any other thoughts before we move on?
No.
All right, then. Episode 35, a Serious Legend song. We have a new radio show on the wave, and it's very clearly Jake as a DJ delivering advice and singing some decent songs to his listeners. The next day, the gang more or less get us on the current status quo of we've got 6 horoscopes to deal with that we don't know the identities of. And also the hole above the school is stronger now because the hole above Kyoto went away. So
we've got the 4 pillars went poof.
Yep. So we got problems. But Cosmic will solve all our problems, right? About the monkey's paw deal you made to get Cosmic. And also Gentro back alive. But we see a girl going with Jean's advice to essentially throw water in some asshole's face. And that prompts the group to discuss the radio show, which has totally existed for more than just this starting this week. It's been around for a while, and everyone likes it. Is it just me, or does this feel like a plot point that should have been here sooner?
You mean like a plot point that, I don't know, maybe should have been the intro for Jake or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like at the very least, this should have been in the background for more than just this week's episode.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Completely feel the same way. You're not alone there.
Yeah. So Jake's liking all of the attention he's getting for his totally not new show, and Gentro wants to find this mysterious DJ and befriend him. But we see that a new horoscope also wants to meet Jean. For reference, this is Capricorn. Our Ram horoscope. We see Jake do another radio show, but before he gets started, he gets a request from totally not Gentro because of his name. For reference, the name was it Yunjiro Misaki? Do you want to take a guess on what that means? Yeah. You want to take a...
What?
A rough translation would be blossoming friendship.
Of course it would.
Yeah, I knew Yunjiro literally meant friendship because the full bottle to make the Fourze suit and the build driver, one of them is literally called Yunjiro, which is literally friendship. I'm like, Jake, you should have saw this coming from a mile fucking away. God damn it.
I mean, to be fair, the song choice too.
Yeah. So yeah, Jake kind of brushes that off, but does read a message, or gets to another request on the air, which is to call a number, which I guess he just has something hooked up in his studio for people to hear his phone calls.
Apparently.
Wirelessly, mind you, because he has nothing plugged into his phone.
Yeah.
But Capricorn
people
call...
know how tech works.
Ugh. So, Capricorn calls in for a meeting. So that's on to meet him at a more or less a guitar music shop. I was gonna say guitar shop, but that's more of a general music shop. This is when we see Yuki, Kingo, and Tomoko are going to form a band for comedy bits this week, and for a song that I forgot was a thing. Like, literally when that moment hit, I'm like, fuck me sideways, I forgot this actually happened. That's the fun part of doing these, is making me remember things that I probably don't want to remember. So yeah, they're a band. But checking in with Jake as he goes to meet Capricorn, we find out that Capricorn is in fact an old friend of his, Goto, who plays guitar, and they were in a band back in the day, I guess before either one of them went to Asagao or Amanagawa. Why did I say Asagao? Amanagawa. But they stopped for reasons we'll see later. But he reveals himself as Capricorn to Jake and shows that when he's playing his guitar, Jake can sing better. And he wants to pick up where they left off and go rock the world as something that totally won't terrify everyone watching. You know, considering one of them is in fact a monster.
Yeah, because I mean, that won't scare anyone.
Yeah, especially since, you know, one of them is a ram, rock is the devil's music, and all that. I'm pretty sure that was on the nose for the writers.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, Gintaro and the rest of the gang arrives, and Jake more or less panics and tries to brush off. He's like, "Oh no, monster! Go blow him up!" So Gintaro and Ryusei have to fight Capricorn, and Capricorn's kind of bad at the moment, so they get in this right now. Except Jake interrupts Gintaro from using Cosmic to beat him, and it gives Capricorn a chance to run away with Libra taking him. So that happened, and also for some reason Cosmic acted up a little bit. That's totally not suspicious or bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't know why that happened.
Yep. Checking in with Hayame after he takes Capricorn, he reveals that Capricorn's music reacts to their switches, which prompts Leo to think that this might give them a way to find the core switch. Yes, we are introducing this.
I believe, isn't that the first time that's even a thing?
No, because we've seen it in the flashback with Kingo's father.
Okay, but outside of that.
No, we have not seen that. This is the first mention of it. Don't worry, there's another thing that's introduced even later that is like, oh, what? What do you mean? Wait, what? This feels like it should have been here sooner.
Is it bad that I almost feel like the end of the show just kind of craps all over itself because of the simple fact of they whoopsed early on?
Kind of, yeah. This is why I don't rate Fourze as high as other shows, is because this end run feels like oh fuck, we forgot to introduce plot points. We just gotta go. We just gotta ram through this shit.
Like this is the opposite of what has happened with both X8 and Build.
Yeah.
Because both of those shows introduced too many plot points and then had to wrap them up quick, so we had a gap of nothing.
Yep. Whereas here, we got caught up in doing one-off stories too much. Shit, we forgot to do our plot. Oh, we gotta do our plot real quick.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, checking in with Jake later on in the day. He's restless about the whole situation, with Gintaro dropping by, revealing himself as the one who sent Jake the email. So he now knows that Jake is Gene, for reference. That's the radio DJ name he's been going under. And they have a quick chat about things and try to help Jake walk through this problem because, apparently, because, this is all brand new to us, Jake had a dream of being a rock star, like his father, who apparently was a rock star at one point. But Jake never reached that dream, but now he has a chance of doing it. But it means siding with Capricorn. So that night, Jake makes a terrible mistake by doing a show, renaming it to a far more sinister sounding name. Kind of. He just adds dark onto the name.
Because that just totally was needed.
Yep. And him and Capricorn do their song, and it kind of makes the listeners go a little bit wild. Maybe too wild. Because we see that the three members of the club that started a band decide to do a rock metal cover of Yuki's Hayabusa-kun song for some reason, and this goes on for a couple minutes. Look, don't ask me why it happened. It just does. I chalk this up to this being from an anime writer, where this is normal.
I mean, makes sense.
Yeah. So the gang, minus our band members, find out that people are going a bit too buck wild and are getting themselves hurt. So Jake, realizing, oh no, I fucked up, reveals that he's Gene, and he's going to put a stop to this before anyone else gets hurt. But when we check it with him later, his buddy more or less talks him into it by holding the shadow of his father, never reaching his dream, over his head. So, yeah.
Like all good friends should.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, every time you say that, I want to punch you in the face. Because that's a dick move.
Yeah.
So this causes Jake to go ahead with the show, which means the gang goes off to stop him, which leads to Gentro and Ryusei having to fight Capricorn. Capricorn's a little bit better off now, because I guess Leo taught him how to actually fight. So with Meteor and Meteor Storm kind of holding him off, Gentro goes Cosmic. But he's kind of interrupted by Jake arriving, and Gentro decides to chew him out for all of this. Except Jake decides, no, I'm not going to let go of my dream. I'm going to go ahead with my dream. Also, I quit the club. Goodbye. And this breaks Cosmic. And it forces Gentro back into his base states as all of the switches are more or less just piled up in front of him. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That takes us to episode 36, Serious Legend Song. Damn it. I copied the same one twice. Hang on.
Welp.
I'm an idiot. I did the formatting of the notes terribly. Didn't help that I was reading through notes for future episodes for anything. Okay, 35 is Monsters Broadcast, 36 is the Serious Legend Song. My bad.
So you did the second one right, the first one wrong.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So we see Jake leave as Gentro continues to accost him and chew him out for his very terrible decisions. But that leaves Gentro to go into Magnet Space to try to fight Capricorn. He dodges the limit break and leaves, meaning our gang is without their trump card because, to establish this, more or less, Cosmic doesn't work if Gentro is not friends with the people who literally brought him back to life.
Kind of truthfully a bad caveat to a final form.
Pretty much. So, if Gentro is not friends with all of the club, minus Ryusei and Usugi, he cannot access cosmic states because the deal he made without knowing it for Cosmic States was their friendship for that power. Or their friendship is tied directly to the power. Probably doesn't help that he was dead at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess there's your limitation on Cosmic States. For reference, this will never be brought up again. At least that I remember. So keep that in mind. I might be wrong. Because there might be a set of 2 episodes that I'm thinking of where it might come back into the play. But I don't think it does. Anywho. We check into the school the next day. Jake is getting interviewed. And him and Capricorn play the song over the speakers. And now the entire school is enthralled. Which is not good. Checking in with Leo, he gets credit for the current state of things over Libra, and Gamal decides to give him the previous horoscope switches to have fun with, which means that Leo has now gotten a power up in the sense of he can become the previous horoscopes that are now stronger because he's using them. Also, Capricorn gets his supernova so they can find the core switch, since that will amplify his resonant ability. Checking in with the group, they're back at the hutch, trying to figure out what to do. Our 3 band members are wiped out, practically, because the music is draining them of their life force. So, Jake's decision might get somebody killed.
Or a lot of people killed.
Yep. So the group decides to split up. Ryusei, Shun, and Miyu are going to try to track down Jake and Capricorn, put a stop to their broadcast, while Gentaro is off on his own mission. Or stop their broadcast before they have a big concert, because they're going to have a big concert soon. That is not going to end well. Ryusei, Shun, and Miyu head back to where they were broadcasting before, find that they're not there, but Leo is there, and he injures Shun and Miyu by knocking them into the concrete barrier, and Ryusei has to run off to go transform real quick and then fight him, only to get banged up horribly himself, with Tachibana literally telling him, "Run, you dumbass. Run. You can't win." And Ryusei refuses.
Yeah, with him just being like, no. I feel like Ryusei and Gentaro are too much alike.
Yeah.
It's just their motivations is what differs.
Yep.
Because they both can be very stubborn.
Yep. So Tachibana, in order to save Ryusei's life, has to purposely activate his transportation ability and transport him somewhere else so he can go sleep this off in an alleyway for a second before, I guess, Miyu, since she's the only one capable of walking and not needing a bed at the moment when we check in later, finds him after she's had to drag Shun off. We don't see how they get to the hospital they're at later. Because the next day, bear in mind, this was that night, Miyu tries to check in with Gentaro, and Gentro's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm on a fishing trip. I'm busy. Don't worry, I'll go handle this. Just give me some time. Bye." I love how upset Miyu is about this, whereas Shun's just like, he probably is on this for a reason. You know that, right? Like, Gentaro would not just go randomly decide to go fishing without a reason.
I mean, we would hope.
Yeah. So, checking in with Jake, he has a little bit of a nightmare over the fact that, oh yeah, if you keep doing this, you're going to kill 3 of your friends. I'm sure you feel fine. I'm sure you're not riddled with guilt.
Yeah, I'm sure you're completely happy with what you have done.
Yep. as you stand atop two of your friends' corpses and have a third fall on you. But Capricorn does pull him on stage to do the performance, with Ryusei arriving, hobbling, and still injured, mind you, to fight, only to have to fight Leo again. Again, Leo has all the different horoscope switches that we've had in play so far, and is swapping between them. So they're fighting. But checking back in with Jake and Capricorn, they go to play, only for Gentaro to show up, guitar in hand, crashes the party, and proceeds to play a song for Jake, which is in fact his father's song that Jake sang along with when he was a kid. This pulls Jake out of the very horrible days I am sure he's in. Gets him to sing along with it. Not in the best sense, but he's back with the club now. Is it weird that I'm like, Gentro's not playing the song badly? Not really.
Not at all.
Because the audience was booing him, started booing when Gentaro started playing. I'm like, oh, come on. Like, Jake doesn't sound the best, but like, Gentro's playing fine.
Yeah.
For what is probably one day of practice. And probably even less than that, considering I think when we see him start practicing, it's like the afternoon. Yeah, Capricorn doesn't take this well, so him and Gentaro are off to fight. Meanwhile, Ryusei does manage to get Libra to back off, because he's more or less just targeted Leo's right leg repeatedly over and over and over again, until Leo just finally decides to let him win and fucks off.
For now.
Yep. But a combo of switches later for Gentaro and a trip to space. Capricorn is destroyed, but Virgo does pick him up and drops him off to Kamau, with Virgo going, hey, can I dump him in the Dark Nebula? And Kamau goes, nah. Just wipe his memory and dump him somewhere, because he got me the information that the core switch is intact. We have found it, and it's on somebody at the school. Okay, that doesn't seem a lot of information.
No, not at all. But, I mean, in theory, though, I guess it's more than the others have done so far, so...
Yeah, just wipe his memory. We don't gotta dump him in the Dark Nebula. I assume that's also the case of, we should not dump a child into the Dark Nebula. Even though we already did that once.
Well, but... one, that child deserved it, and two, that child looked like a cop man person, so yes.
Okay. But we end the episode with Jake more or less having a monologue, bidding farewell to his dream as he gives it up, and moves on to greener pastures. And that's our other half of the episode. So how'd you feel about our first of many, many, many horoscope fights to come?
I still feel like this whole thing was out of place.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't have been this far out.
Mm-hmm. Especially when, oh yeah, like I said, this is the first of many. We have 5 more to get through. Spoilers, one of them is the final boss. You can probably guess who.
But yeah, like I said, I just feel like this arc feels out of place, really.
Mm-hmm. I was just checking through the episodes, being like, do we really hit them all in a row? Yeah, we kind of do. yeah, I like getting more development for Jake. I wish this was sooner because this feels more in line with a Jake who's only been with the club for so long, instead of a Jake who literally said fuck you, and you making me execute someone. Also, maybe this information should have been on the table before all this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our 4 episodes. Any other thoughts?
No.
All right then. For now, next week we're gonna get into a batch of episodes that are gonna start really weird and maybe a bit misinterpretable depending on the situation.
Oh boy.
Because of what more or less Kamau and the school are going to put certain groups of students through for reasons that are totally justifiable.
Fish.
And not at all suspicious. Anywho, if you've liked what you've seen, drop us a follow. We really appreciate it. We're chipping away at that follower/affiliate goal. We got a Discord, !Discord in chat. We'll get you that. We have a Dropbox for questions there in the show chats. Drop us a question. We'll answer it here or on TGS, whichever one that's more appropriate for. And at TG Saloon, we'll let you know when we go live so you don't miss out. But that'll do it for me and for Tommy. Get out, everybody. We'll see you next week.